Hi, my name is Stormy Peters, and my question for today for you is how have business models for open source software evolved in the last 20 years? I'll give you some hints. I was going through some old slide decks and I found one from 2003 where I was talking about business cases for open source software. And I think we got it pretty right, but a few things have changed. Here's what I've got for you, or here's what I had for you in 2003. So I have support and services tied to open source software. I think still totally valid. I joined a startup before or after these slides where I was helping to support open source software. Aggregating and enhancing, maybe we'd call it integrating and enhancing or integrating and add-ons these days, still totally valid. How about commercializing with a dual license? I don't think we envisioned in 2003 all of the recent hooplas and cases and different ways people have done this, but I think it's still a pretty valid model. Enabling hardware. This is probably only valid for like hardware companies, but still works. End of life, and I had a whole bunch of caveats here that, you know, if you just wanted to like kill something or get rid of it, that's what you should do. You shouldn't just throw it over the wall. A lot of people thought that's what open source software was about back then. I had building an ecosystem. I would add to that like building an ecosystem or setting a standard. And then I had some examples of these. So I had like the product commoditizes a market you don't own. So if you want to enter a market that you're not the main player in, and I said Linux would commoditize the desktop market. I have, let's see, the open source product would make a product or technology pervasive. I had open source printer drivers for the hardware market. The product would promote the use of a proprietary, the open source software product would promote the use of a proprietary piece of software or hardware. I think we've definitely seen that. Open sourcing would lower the product's overall costs to the company. I think a lot of people really hope for this one and still hope for this one, but there's a large upfront cost that I think I talked about then, but I definitely talk about a lot now. There's a lot of upfront cost to growing your community and taking time to do it right. The product promotes hardware, covered that one. Open sourcing can create the ability for a customer to create a custom solution. Open sourcing the product allows you to exit a business. Lots of caveats there. And open sourcing the product allows you to leverage resources from others. So kind of like what we were saying about maybe building an ecosystem around it with the caveat that you spend time to do that correctly. So those are the open source business cases that we had back then. So what other ones do you think exist now? And are those valid? Were they valid? I think one that's not there is SaaS, software as a service. You see quite a few companies offering software as a service around open source software products. So the question for you today is, what are the business models today? And how are they the same as they always have been, or how have they evolved? I look forward to seeing your comments.